probably point it less towards the stage and more towards the tables, and then just until Steve starts talking.
That's what I thought, so that's what I grabbed.
We're in Marysville.
1, 2, check. All right, now I think you can hear me. We are going to officially begin our program as we eat, so try not to chew too loud. But to open our program this morning, it's my privilege to introduce a man who has had every role imaginable here at Whitworth University. A student, an alum, a parent of a student, a coach, a faculty member, an administrator, as director of athletics and as vice president, and now as president of Whitworth University, Scott McQuote.
I was just talking with, well, good morning, everyone. I was just talking with Steve about who's going to say, and I get our very best day, my favorite day, for years and years and years, so it's so great to have everybody here. Some recognitions and some acknowledgments before I'll move through some other recognitions. So, to Steve Flagle. Steve is now in his 30th year as Sports Information Director at Whitworth. What a legacy that he has left, and when I was athletic director, such an important confidant, a person of great counsel, so thank you, Steve, for all that you've been holding to plug. Jennifer Toulouse-Lee for making things come in the athletic department. Our athletic director, Tim DeMont, where are you, Tim? Right over here. The leadership over our department and essentially the mission focus with which our program rolls. So grateful for that. I think I need to hold this closer. If I hold that right there, that's a little bit better. That come out. Others that have shaped this place for decades. I saw Joe Wagstaff, who served for years and years as Associate Athletic Director, and Warren Fredericks. There we go. And Warren Fredericks, if there's a Mount Rushmore at Whitworth in athletics, Warren is on it. And lastly, on that, President Bill Robinson. Bill was pretty good. Pretty good as a Whitworth president. And I have this bracelet, WWBD, what would Bill do? That is how I try to roll in this job. It was summer of 1988, and it was in the Lindemann Seminar Center, and Shorty Bennett, our head football coach, and Marcella got together and brought a group and said, we remember how Whitworth athletics was at a particular time, and there was some need for restoration of community and quality, and they gathered a coaching staff and volunteers together. And from that, the Crimson Club and the Heritage Gallery was birthed. We would not be here today except for the vision that they cast long ago. So now we will applaud for everybody, but particularly Shorty and Marcella who stand right next to us. Well, a handful of reasons to be proud about Whitworth athletics. Our coaches run mission-centric programs. We're equipping our students in all kinds of different ways, intellectually, socially, spiritually, relationally. But we equip them to honor God, follow Christ, and serve humanity. So when that student walks across the stage and they get that shake of the hand from the president, we're looking at them and saying, look at who you've become. And athletics plays a central role, a key role in who they become. Our students and coaches, they're smart. Our students, we have so many academic awards with our student athletes. We are good. We win championships across the spectrum. And our coaches care more than just about winning. They're shaping the lives of our students. When I was athletic director, I used to ask our coaches, coach with these two things in mind as well, is that what will your athletes say about you 20 years from now? And in the lives of your former student athletes, are you getting invited to the big moments in their lives? Their weddings, their white coat ceremonies, ordination ceremonies. Are you getting invited to those? And for our friends here today, I can assure you that our coaches are invited to those, and they are there for the big moments of their lives. And athletics provides us a big gathering place. So with that, thank you to all you who have shaped this place over the generations. We are stewards, the current people who are here today in these roles, we are stewards of the legacy that you left. And at some point we will exit and others will follow us. But we stand on your shoulders. As I look in the room, former athletes and coaches and volunteers, we stand on your shoulders. Our current honorees, Dick Klein, the late Dick Klein, an elite athlete at an uber time of uber great athletics at Whitworth. Tony Swanson, I haven't had a chance to say hello, but a pioneering player at an important time with women's athletics at Whitworth. So the best player on a really good team. Steve Mihas, you could not play harder than Steve Mihas. You just couldn't. And then Dave Johnson, right here. Dave, when you listed the top 1, 2, 3 high school baseball programs in the state at any level, and you ask anybody who they were, Alfredo was always going to be in that mix. So thank you for being here today. Let me open in prayer. Lord, we acknowledge that you are holy, that you are sovereign, that you are present, that you are loving, and that through you we are redeemed, and that you have had your hand on this special place for 136 years of its existence. And so today we offer gratitude for what has been, what is, and we don't know yet will be. So we give you thanks for these current coaches who, with our student athletes, and amidst this great cloud of witnesses, our alumni giants who have represented this noble mission in their lives. And for that we give you thanks. Amen.
As Scott mentioned, this is our best day, and the reason this is our best day is because on no other day during the year does our glorious past intersect with our current greatness. It's today. And to see so many people back who have been inducted, who are going to be inducted, and we'll get to you in just a few minutes. That's what makes this day special. A few thank yous. Scott gave some of those, but I have some real thank yous because this is a pretty big endeavor, but it takes a team to get it done. The selection committee. For the first time, all of our selection committee members are here at this breakfast. I would like them to please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your work. This ends back in the spring. This begins in May. and they begin working through scores of names. And they pare it down, and we talk and we discuss, and we go back and forth, and we end up with the 4 people who will be inducted this morning, and every year they get it right. All of the logistics, making sure that the meal is here, making sure that the tables are set correctly, that the plaques are done. Jennifer Toulouse-Lee and Jarvis Natividad. They do so much work behind the scenes, and I want to thank them for everything that they do. We're going to see some pretty cool videos this morning. And the reason for that is because we have David Saraceno, who has been doing the video production for us for a few years now, a little while. David, thank you so much. And they are top notch. And Bud Namick provide the voice of the Pirates. Whitworth is so blessed to have Bud Namick as the voice of the Pirates for Whitworth football and Whitworth men's and women's basketball. Just the most professional guy you can imagine, and for us to be a Division III school to have him is a blessing. He did the voiceover for those videos, and you'll recognize his voice. Thank you, Bud. Luke Pickett is a young man who is here. Luke did some research for us. I should have learned this a long time ago. It's great when you can get somebody else to do your homework for you. And Luke did that for a couple of our inductees this morning. And so, Luke, thank you for doing that, and thank you for being here. And then none of this could happen without great leadership from Tim DeMont and Scott McQuilkin, and you guys are so appreciated, and your support of this event makes all of the difference. One of my favorite moments is when we get to recognize the previous inductees who have returned to be here to welcome the new class who are coming in. And we kind of always do this in order of induction. So we begin with our first class, and that always starts with Ray Washburn. Now, Ray is here. Ray, we want to say that we miss Bev, and our hearts break with you for the passing of Bev, and know that we miss her dearly as well. She was always here by your side, and the event is not the same without her. One other thing, then this is important. Ray is clearly the most accomplished athlete to have ever come through Whitworth University with everything that he did. And if you're not familiar, Ray led Whitworth to the 1960 NAIA Baseball Championship. He was a starting pitcher for us, but he was Madison Bumgarner before Madison Bumgarner. In that championship series against Southern University, back-to-back games, he threw, I think it was 16 of the 18 innings to get us to the championship. And then he was drafted and went on to play professionally for the St. Louis Cardinals and picked in the 1964 and 1968 World Series Game 3 winner against the Detroit Tigers in 1968. A tremendous professional career. And so to pay homage to his accomplishments, thanks to Sean Rainey, Sean, who came into my office this summer and asked me, "Have you heard of Ray Washburn?" I said, "Actually, yes." And so Sean, Ray's grandson, who had collected so much memorabilia about his grandfather, some of it displayed up here on the table. If you get a chance, I encourage you to, after the ceremony, come on up and take a look at most of his baseball cards from when he was a professional player, warm-up shirt from when he was with the Cardinals, his Whitworth basketball jersey. And if I understand this correctly, Ray, when you came to Whitworth, you were more of a basketball player than you were a baseball player. And a tremendous basketball player for the Pirates. Some news clippings, sporting news, picture from that 1968 post-game, Game 3. So take a look at that. We're going to have a permanent display case in the vault honoring Ray Washburn. So thank you, Sean. Thank you, Ray, for all that you have done. From the Ray was obviously on that 1960 team. Also on that 1960 team, Dennis Rieger. Denny is back here. Denny has been an annual attendee at this event. Is Mary Spangenberg has come to this so many times. Is she here this morning? No. Okay. From the class of 1998, Hula John Murio, All-American wide receiver on the 1960 football team. John, thank you for coming back. From the class of 1999, Tom Black. Tom, All-American lineman for us on that great 1960 team. From the class of 2002, Doug Larson is here. Doug, a NAIA champion in the decathlon, sitting at Jim Klein's table appropriately for that. Those of you who were on that 1960 team who I have not recognized yet, Shorty Bennett, Pete Black, Dennis Rieger, Rex Shimke, all of you guys who make this an annual event, thank you so much for being here. That 60 team, 9-0, played in the NAIA semifinals that year. Did I miss Pete Elliott? Pete, is Pete here this morning? John Gooey Gould from the class of 2010, has his name still all over the Whitworth Soccer record book. John was on the field the day that the Pirate men's soccer team beat a nationally ranked University of Washington team at Husky Stadium. From the class of 2013, President Emeritus Bill Robinson, who did so much for Whitworth Athletics during his time as president. Thank you, Bill. From the class of 2014, Scott McQuilkin, who served so wonderfully as our Director of Athletics, essentially bringing Whitworth into its current era of glory. Scott McQuilkin. From the class of 2019, Sean Boucher, who was one of the great coaches in Whitworth history, led the Whitworth men's soccer team to the 2005 NCAA Division III Final Four, 2008 National Quarterfinals, and numerous NCAA tournament appearances. Sean Boucher. From the class of 2022, representing her son Ryan Paula Freeman is here. Ryan Freeman, a multiple-time swimming All-American for one of the glory teams of Whitworth Swimming. Thank you for being here, Paula. Two folks from the class of 2023, we have Frank Knott. Frank, one of the great contributors to Whitworth of all time, not just Whitworth Athletics, but Whitworth College, Whitworth University. Frank has been so generous, and he was a state champion cross-country runner for Meade High School, who ended up running on the Whitworth track and field and cross-country teams. Frank Knott. Speaking of cross-country and track and field, Kayla Leland is here. There she is. Multiple-time All-American in cross-country and track and field, and her name is permanently, it seems like, at the top of virtually every event on our team record book. Kayla Leland. And from last year, Joe Wagstaff, who served so faithfully as our women's tennis coach for 30 years, and for much of that time as an administrator, as assistant and associate athletic director, helping so many staff people manage their budget issues like nobody else could. Joe faithfully served Whitworth University for so many years. Joe Wagstaff. For those of you who are going in this year, there have been more than 5,000 student athletes in the history of Whitworth University. As of this morning, there are 113 individual inductees into this Whitworth Heritage Gallery Hall of Fame. That tells you how special and how unique this is. And so you see the people who have come back to welcome you. You are part of the club, and we welcome you this morning. We begin with Jim Klein. Now, Jim has come closer than any Whitworth student athlete to making a U.S. Olympic team, and you'll hear more about that when we start the video. But I think as of right now, it's probably fair to say that Jim might be most famous for being Gabe Spire's grandpa. And if you're a Mariners fan, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not a Mariners fan after last night, you got to get on the bandwagon. I know that Jim's daughter, Jenny, Gabe's mom, had planned to be here, but they were in Detroit just a couple days ago, in Seattle, till all hours of last night. Making it here at 9 o'clock for a ceremony was going to be impossible. Jenny, you and Craig and your family, you're missed. But we have Joe here, who's going to stand in and do a great job. And so it's my pleasure to present our first inductee, and our first video is for Jim Klein.
No Whitworth University athlete has come closer to making the United States Olympic team in any sport. No Whitworth University athlete has come closer to making the United States Olympic team in any sport than Jim Klein. But his legacy as a Pirate goes far beyond a fourth-place finish in the decathlon at the 1960 U.S. Olympic Trials. Born and raised in California, Jim initially enrolled at Grinnell College in Iowa before transferring closer to home to Glendale Junior College. It was there, at age 19, that he began to emerge as a promising decathlon competitor. He first gained national attention at the 1952 U.S. Olympic Trials, where he placed 15th. Jim served in the U.S. Air Force throughout the mid-1950s, continuing to train and compete during his enlistment. In 1956, he placed 11th in the U.S. Olympic Decathlon Trials, won the high jump at the Air Force Championships, and earned second place in the all-service decathlon. His athletic success in uniform foreshadowed a dominant run still to come. Following his service, Jim won the Southern Pacific AAU Decathlon title in December of 1957 and placed fourth in the National AAU Decathlon Championship later that year. His consistent performances earned him a number 4 ranking in the Track and Field News World Decathlon standings, firmly establishing him among the world's elite. Jim arrived at Whitworth in early 1958 to study physical education with an emphasis on physical therapy, bringing a mature, focused approach shaped by both military discipline and national-level competition. He made his Whitworth debut at the prestigious Kansas Relays in April 1958, placing 3rd in the decathlon. From that point on, he became a cornerstone of Heritage Gallery member Sam Adams' track and field team. He was an NAIA All-American in the high jump in 1958 and the long jump in 1959. He helped lead Whitworth to an NAIA District 1 championship in 1959 by scoring 29 points with first-place finishes in the long jump and the discus and a tie for first in the high jump. Coach Sam Adams once said, "Give me another half dozen like him, then look out. Whitworth would be the national track champs." Current Pirate head coach Toby Schwartz says it's difficult to find someone willing to devote that much time and energy to being good in 10 events. But when you find someone of the caliber of Jim Klein, that is truly a blessing for a coach and a team. After graduating from Whitworth in June 1959 with a degree in physical education, Jim remained committed to athletics. He narrowly missed a spot in the 1960 U.S. Olympic team, finishing 4th at the decathlon trials in Eugene, Oregon, and became an alternate for the team in Rome. It marked the end of his competitive career and the beginning of a lifelong pursuit of coaching and mentorship. Jim relocated to Santa Barbara, California, where he became involved with Santa Barbara Athletic Club and began coaching at nearby Westmont College in 1961. There, he helped lay the groundwork for a thriving track and field program. He literally built the school's first track by hand in 1966. At Westmont, Jim coached 3 NAIA national champions and 32 All-Americans, despite the fact that his athletes would have to drive hundreds of miles to make the national meets. Two of his Westmont student athletes went on to make Olympic teams. Jim Howard competed for the United States and finished fourth in the Olympic decathlon in Tokyo in 1964. Jean-Louis Ravelo-Manonsoa was a two-time 60-yard dash champion at the NAIA Indoor Track and Field Championships and the 1972 100-meter champion outdoors before competing at the 1972 Munich Olympics for Madagascar. Russell Smelly, Westmont's current head coach, says Jim built the track, he built the program, he built the team's reputation. Everything that stands here today is on his shoulders. In 1979, Jim became the head coach at Idaho State, leading the Bengals to a Big Sky title his first season. Boise State then hired Klein in 1982 to start its women's track and field program. He guided the Broncos to 4 Mountain West Conference Outdoor Championships. He was voted NCAA District 7 Coach of the Year in 1988. Jim retired from coaching in 1993 and returned to Southern California. He passed away in July of 2022 at the age of 90. Ladies and gentlemen, for his commitment to proficiency and excellence across the spectrum of track and field competition, and for the leadership and legacy he provided the student athletes and programs he directed as coach, the Whitworth Heritage Gallery Hall of Fame Selection Committee is proud to present for induction today, Jim Klein.
Sorry, I teared up there. Wanted a piece of dad to be here with me today, so brought his Letterman jacket. So yeah, hello Pirates. It's an honor to be here today, join you all. My name's Joe Klein. I'm Jim's youngest son, and yeah, I guess I want to start off by thanking everybody here and everybody who made this possible today. The selection committee, Scott McQuilkin and Steve. You guys, just for the brief moment that I've met you, have taken very good care of me, and I just can't thank you enough. So, and to all the supporting people that helped with all of this is just really special. I mean, it's just what a community that you all are part of. It's hard because, gosh, Dad loved these moments. He would have loved to have been here with all of you and bump elbows and talk about the good old times. And I wish he could have been here to be here, and or wish he could have been here and see you all. He really embodied everything of what this university is about. Honor God, follow Christ, serve humanity. I mean, what a powerful, powerful core value of things to do and follow. It just builds such amazing people, and I mean, look at the left and right of you, just how amazing you all are. It's just, it's truly humbling. The hardest part of this is that being so much younger, it was hard to dig up history and find things about him of this time in his life. For most of my life with him, it was his coaching side. And again, like Scott had said, I had been to so many weddings and events and things of different athletes and coaches and things that he was a part of in his life that a lot of it was so much for me as a kid to understand and to remember a lot of it. And so digging up history and trying to find things was quite difficult for me. And to be honest, it's since his passing, I've had a hard time leaving that hospice room. And that's another thing I would like to thank you all for, is that this is a great moment of healing for me and my family as well. And thank you. Again, Dad really embodied a lot of the core values of this university. And I really scribbled it a lot because I was so nervous of this. But the pursuit of education he was always wanting for me to learn and have that curiosity and question things and wonder what could be. And he lived that way as well. If it wasn't through athletics or God, there was always, what the question of what could this be? And I think that's a really good thing to have, of just always seeking something. The big one was always his service to humanity, which is part of the core. And he just loved people. He just loved being around people and mingling and knowing what you were doing, how your family was. He just really cared. And again, this university instilled a lot of this into him. And the intellectual, spiritual vigor, curiosity, and development that he gave to the future of people of Whitworth or Westmont or Idaho State or Boise State. There were just so many people that went on to do amazing things in this life, and came from Whitworth. I found out more of him from Whitworth times when I took a job with the Spokane shop when I was fresh out of college. And when I had told him, I was kind of thinking, oh, he's going to be sad that I'm leaving the house. And it was quite opposite. You're going to love Spokane. Make sure you get to that campus. Go see things. See how wonderful of a place it is. And he really hammered that into me, of just how special Spokane and Whitworth were. And it wasn't long before I figured out how amazing this place really is. This campus is just gorgeous. The people are wonderful. It was just, he was right in every way, and I'm really thankful for that. The main thing that I always think about with him is when they're talking about with Westmont, building the track and having that service to humanity, or working through problems. They gave him basically enough money to get the clay and some wood and to just build this field into a track and start a program. Which they had told me something like that, I don't even know where I would have started. I don't know how to even begin. But they made just an amazing impact on a lot of people and built that track and had an amazing set of athletes that went through there. And I don't think I could have built my Lego set, so I don't understand how any of that's even possible. But I just want everyone here to know of how excited he was to be here and come. And his wife wanted to make sure that everyone knew of how excited he was when he got the call to be here. And that was one of the things that she remembered very fondly of him. And again, his eyes lit up when I said I was coming to Spokane. Again, I can't thank everybody enough, and I wish I had a lot more to say. I have it all written down, and I've literally said maybe the top line, and I'm just fumbling around. But gosh, how great it is to be a Pirate. Again, I just feel really blessed to be here and to accept this on you guys' honor. And I guess I would like to end it with, I didn't know Dad was much of a writer, but something that's special to me and my family is Dad wrote a poem. And I don't know how it came out of or where it came from, but it was again, I don't think he was the greatest of writers, but you can feel that this was from his heart, and it's been, again, special to me and my family. And I'd like to share that with you to end it. I'd love to have those days again of running, free and fast, digging in power ahead of the others, like a dance on glass. What a feeling. Being out there, really very little effort when it's right, like walking on a rope, balancing, a delicate position. Fall off and it's over, but you don't fall off on that day, or jumping. Have you ever jumped? I mean really jumped, hard. No, just hopped a little? But no, jumped. Everything up, hard up. Like you'll never come down. You jump that hard, and when things get tougher, it's like you won't ever come down. But you do, of course. But being up there for so long was good. Running and jumping. Not very unique things, really, but when you do them in your way, they are unique. Only you can run like you run, or jump like you jump. No one can jump or run for you. I feel this way about these things. When I jumped the highest and ran the fastest those days, I remember, and really remember, all of me feels, all of me remembers. Those were the times of being completely real and totally fulfilled. The things I did. And every cell of me has the memory. Again, thank you, Pirates, for having me, and thank you for sharing the time with me and my dad, and I feel very proud to be a part of the Pirate family. Go Pirates!
Tony Swanson played basketball at Whitworth during a transitional time for women's sports in the United States. The AIAW was about to go away as the NCAA decided to consolidate women's and men's sports under one banner, and the NAIA, of which Whitworth was a member, followed suit. And so the AIAW, for which Whitworth was playing at the time, was going away. But at that time, it meant that they were all under the same umbrella, all the schools. So Whitworth not only played the small schools that we see today, the private small schools, but they also played the Central Washingtons and the Western Washingtons and the Eastern Washingtons and the Idahos and the Gonzagas and all of the schools that we could get to, because that's really what it came down to, was cost and could we get there. That's who we played. And so all of these records that you'll hear about, Tony set against these bigger schools. So keep that in mind as we hear this video. One other thing, when Tony came, her teammates thought of her as perhaps a little bit quiet, a little bit aloof, a little bit standoffish, at least as I talked to her teammates. It's because she was just shy. So I did learn yesterday, though, that she had gotten over that, or she knew how to make a better first impression when she met our women's basketball team and brought a box of crumbled cookies to hand out to the players for after practice. So it's my pleasure to present for you this morning the induction video for Tony Swanson.
Tony Swanson is a quiet individual who let her play on the basketball floor do the talking. The result was loud enough to stand the test of time. Tony still ranks as the all-time leading rebounder in Whitworth women's basketball history, and its fourth leading scorer 40 years after she finished her Pirate career. Tony came to Whitworth in the fall of 1979 from the budding powerhouse at Auburn High School under legendary coach Dennis Olson. She was not highly recruited after sharing the floor with many talented players, including All-State honoree Dana Fish. But after opening a letter from Whitworth, Tony decided to pay a visit and fell in love with the campus and its people. She had made her decision. Tony joined the team at Whitworth and did not make a stellar first impression on her teammates. She was thought of as standoffish and aloof, perhaps because she had come from such a successful high school program. Teammate Sue Rudd, who was a junior when Tony arrived as a freshman, said, "Once you get to know Tony, you realize she's just shy. She would let her play do the talking for her." Even as a first year, Tony's size and presence helped her stand out. Teammate Kathy Carroll remembers, "Getting a 6-foot-tall player was a big step for us, and she was super competitive and used to winning. You could tell she was going to play right away." In her first season, Tony averaged more than 10 points and led the team with an average of 10.5 rebounds per game. Kathy Carroll, who went on to several years of coaching herself, recalls, "Tony had such good footwork and her positioning for rebounding was excellent. She was fundamentally sound. And she was durable." Over the next 3 seasons, Tony played in all 84 games in which the Pirates competed, never missing a start. Her best rebounding year was her sophomore season, when she averaged 10.7 boards per game. Her game really flourished under new head coach Marv Ainsworth during her senior season in 1982-83. Her scoring average soared to 18.5 points per contest. More than 40 years since she concluded her Whitworth career, Tony still holds the team record for career rebounds with 963. She scored 1,512 points, still the 4th highest total in team history. Sue Rudd says, "Tony knew how to use her height to her advantage." Kathy Carroll adds, "Tony had a really soft touch for a 6-footer. The accolades poured in. Tony was a 4-time All-Conference honoree. She earned All-Region her final 3 years and was a 2-time Honorable Mention All-American. However, Tony is remembered most as a great teammate. Sue Rudd recalls, "Even though she was one of our best players, you always knew that she supported you. She was very complimentary and always had your back." Kathy Carroll says, "Tony has a quiet but wicked sense of humor. I'm grateful we are still friends after all these years." Following the end of her playing career at Whitworth, Tony joined Ainsworth's staff for 1 season as an assistant coach. But Ainsworth knew her playing days should continue. Through some of his NBC basketball camp contacts, he arranged for Tony to play for a women's league in Australia. She played for the team in Newcastle, and in her first game there, she scored 22 points against Sutherland. Once her basketball playing days came to an end, Tony went back to school, got a degree as a surgical technician, an occupation she's had for more than 30 years. She works now in the field of labor and delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, for her quiet but tenacious play on the basketball floor, for the record-setting numbers she posted over a stellar 4-year career, and for her role as a teammate lifting up others, the Whitworth Heritage Gallery Selection Committee is proud to present for induction today, Tony Swanson.
We invite up Tony to come and accept her induction.
Okay, I'm nervous, so I'm going to read this. I'm not sure if I was more nervous about giving a speech or what I was going to wear, but I'm dressed and I'm talking, so I guess we're good. Looking back, I realized my journey to Whitworth could have been detoured several times. In 8th grade, they announced they were going to start a girls' basketball team, and I was not going to attend that meeting. I had no interest at all. It wasn't anywhere on my radar, but my friend was going, and I was going home with her, so I had to attend. And being almost this height in 8th grade, they did not let me out of the room without signing up. It went okay, but I was really thankful that during our first game, Mrs. Carley had that paper bag handy as I hyperventilated several times during the game. By the end of the season, I realized I may have found my place. And that was my dad's opening to toughen me up. We spent countless hours with him battering me under the hoop in our driveway, but it paid off. It's that same hoop in the picture. He didn't think we needed a real weight set since we lived on lots of wooded acreage, and he handed us an axe and chainsaw, and we chopped lots of firewood to build strength. On to high school. Our teams at Auburn High had a lot of success and produced many great players. My senior year, we came to Spokane for a Christmas tournament. The temperatures were below freezing. I am not sure if the gym staff forgot to turn the heat on or if it was broke, but we played our games in our sweats and hoodies under our uniforms. And then, on our day off, our host families took us to Riverfront Park to go ice skating. At one point, I looked up on the bank tower and the temperature was running around it, -20 degrees. And I swore right then and there I would never need to return to the city again. But later that spring, I took a weekend trip to visit Whitworth and the coach and immediately fell in love with the campus and the feeling I got being here. I didn't actually look at any other colleges after that. I can't remember what our season records were, but they were always around a 500 win-loss record. We played teams way out of our league and other small colleges. But it's not the games or records I remember. It's the fun and the friendships that I treasure. I'm still in contact with my core group of friends and teammates, and we get together all the time, and they're actually sitting over here. Reminisce and laugh and tell stories and make up stories, and it's never about the games. It's the road trips and the mishaps, the hotels, the late nights, the cheap meals, and the friendships. We usually traveled in an old Winnebago that was like an airport shuttle bus with hard plastic molded seats. Remember that? Sometimes in a van or sometimes an RV. We broke down once between Spokane and Pullman and were stranded until a farmer came along and helped us get the van going again. Another time we ran out of gas along Interstate 84 in Eastern Oregon. Someone came along, jumped in the van, and discovered there were 2 gas tanks, and we just needed to flip the switch to get to the next tank. And on we went. Then there was a time during my junior year after losing out in the playoffs in Salem, our coach gathered us in the hotel room and told us she resigned. She said goodbye and walked out of the room. Left us stranded with no van keys or credit cards for gas. But that's another story. My senior year, I played for Marv Ainsworth, and after graduating, I still wanted to play. So he set me up with a team in Newcastle, Australia, and I played a season for the Newcastle Scorpions. After returning home and a few years of rec league, that was about the end of my playing career. I got married, had kids, became a typical sports mom. One of the many highlights there was watching both my daughters play basketball for my old high school. And now my son teaches at that high school. There's nothing I regret about my time at Whitworth. My grandma once asked if maybe I could kind of discourage my younger sisters and cousins from playing because she saw how it was taking the toll on my body. Sorry, Grams, I can't do that. She asked if I regretted playing, and I told her I have never regretted one moment. So, in closing, I want to thank the committee and everyone for this special honor. I'm truly humbled, and now my kids might even believe my stories. I want to thank my family for their support from the beginning, starting with making me play in 8th grade to supporting me attending Whitworth, and to my friends and teammates who traveled to this event, and all the great things friends and families do. So thank you all, and thanks for the induction, and I am honored and I appreciate it.
Steve Mihas played basketball here in the late 80s, early 90s, and every great team has those eras that come before that set the stage, and Steve was part of that first great era that Warren had, 3 straight conference titles, the trip to the NAIA tournament in 1991, and Steve was a huge part of that. Now, a little bit about that, the 1990 team, which these 2 guys, Mark and Todd, were on, was a great team and might have been a little bit more talented than that 1991 team. And so those guys graduated, leaving Steve to hold the fort down in 1991, and he had a great year and got us to that national tournament. There were some bumps along the way, however. In the first 8 to 10 games, we were hovering right around 500. We were taking some losses, and after one particular game, where maybe Warren thought that Steve might have tried to do too much, Warren pulled Steve aside and said, "Look, there's no I in team." And Steve immediately responded, "Yeah, but there's an I in win." And win they did. And so Steve, described by his teammates as I got a chance to talk to his teammates, intense, relentless, and you'll see that in the video that's coming up. Presenting Steve Mihas.
When it came to Steve Mihas, the Air Force's loss was Whitworth's gain. It was not a direct path, but when Steve decided not to continue his appointment to the Air Force Academy in the summer of 1986, that decision would lead him to play for Warren Fredericks at Whitworth College beginning in the fall of 1987. Steve would not arrive at Whitworth under the radar, however. however. He'd been a runner-up for Utah 4A Player of the Year at Bountiful High School, and if not for one made three-pointer at the end of a state semifinal upset, Steve might have been the winner of the Player of the Year award. Warren Fredericks was at the beginning of his Pirate coaching tenure and trying to build a team that could compete against the likes of Central Washington, Western Washington, and St. Martin's in the NAIA District 1. Fredericks knew he had something special in Steve. Warren said, "Steve had a competitive fire in him that I knew we needed." Steve knew he had to win over his teammates, however. During his freshman year, he didn't look to score himself. He did his best to open up scoring opportunities for those teammates. While averaging only 4.3 points per game, Steve posted assist numbers not seen at Whitworth in many seasons. He averaged 5.4 assists per game to rank among district leaders while starting every game as the point guard. Prince Juice Watkins was a junior when Steve arrived as a freshman. Juice says Steve was in command from the get-go, even as a freshman. He expected a lot from his teammates. He would not accept a lackluster effort from anyone and was never afraid to get into a guy's face about it. Steve kept the same style of play into his sophomore year. He looked to pass first, score second, averaging just over 5 points per game, and right at 5 assists per game. The Pirates posted their first winning record against NAIA District 1 opponents in nearly a decade. Mark McVeigh, the two-year teammate of Steve's, says he didn't care about his own stats. He only wanted to help the team win. Once he showed up, we started winning. The big breakthrough came during Steve's junior season in 1989-90. Surrounded by great scorers like Randy Smith, Todd Martin, Tim Nicholas, and Mark McVeigh, Steve set a school record for assists in one season with 212. He led the district with 7.3 assists per game. That year, the Pirates went 22-7 and lost in the NAIA District 1 semifinals in a hard-fought game at Central Washington, the best Pirate finish in several seasons. Todd Martin says everyone knew that Steve had the team's best interest at heart. He always worked to be a great example for his teammates and demonstrated what it took to win. Mark McVeigh adds, Steve expected his teammates to step up and deliver when he got them the ball. That made us all try even harder around him. With the graduation of 4 top scorers from the previous year, Steve's senior season might have been one of transition for the team. Instead, Steve finally stepped into a scorer's role himself, averaging 17.6 points per game. He still found time to break his own record for assists in a season with 218, as well as the school record for steals in 1 year with 74. Most importantly, Steve led the Pirates to their first NAIA District 1 championship and appearance at the NAIA National Tournament in Kansas City in 30 years. Whitworth defeated Seattle University and Puget Sound in a packed fieldhouse in the district playoffs. Steve earned first team All-Northwest Conference, first team All-District, and second team All-Little Northwest. Warren Fredericks summed it up. Steve took his game up a level as a senior. He was so smart. He knew the other team so well. He could read the floor better than anybody, and he was always team first. Steve finished his Pirate basketball career as the school's all-time leader in career assists with 720 and steals with 256. He scored 1,093 points and started 116 out of a possible 117 games. But Steve didn't just excel in basketball. He was a 4-year starter for the Whitworth tennis team under Coach Ross Cutter. Played as high as number 2 singles and number 1 doubles during his career, and as a senior, ended with a 10-2 record in singles matches and a 9-2 mark in doubles. He's one of only a handful of Heritage Gallery inductees to play for 2 Hall of Fame coaches at Whitworth. Ladies and gentlemen, for his team-first focus, for his dedication to excellence, and for leading the Pirates to success unseen in the previous 3 decades, the Whitworth Heritage Gallery Selection Committee is proud to present for induction today, Steve Mihas.
say I just got some additional pressure here with this year's team just walking in. I had the pleasure of speaking with him yesterday, and I appreciate that, guys. So, first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here. And this is such an honor. I'm so humbled to be at this induction into the Hall of Fame amongst so many great athletes, probably a lot better than me on my very best day ever. So you guys certainly accomplished a lot. You know, I want to start off by saying this speech wasn't written by ChatGPT, so bear with me. I'm not a public speaker. So I was really lucky. I came from a family that loved basketball and was very passionate about the sport. Most of my family was here. They all would have been, except there was a little bit of an accident walking into the parking lot. So my mom's in the hospital right now. So my dad's going to turn 94 in a couple months. And he also was a college basketball player at an NAIA school from 1950 to 1953. 4-year starter, all-conference player, or so he tells me. He's yet to provide proof of that, but he's an honest man, so we believe him. My mom graduated from Duke, and then met my dad when he was getting his MBA at North Carolina. I had 2 other uncles who graduated from North Carolina, as did my sister, who's at the hospital with my mom right now. After my sister graduated, she went up and kept stats for Georgetown back when they were competing for national championships. So they were all in on the sport. They made it easy for me. And for that, I thank you guys for the guidance, the support, and unconditional love, and helping me become the man I am today. So, let me pull this out, see where I'm at. Oh, I know. So, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Teresa, for blessing me with an amazing life. She's my everything. She's the most exceptional lady I've ever known, besides my mom and sister. I want to thank my young nephew Ryan for coming all the way out from Virginia today. Just know that if you dream big, work hard, and live your life with passion, that anything is possible. Can't wait to see the amazing things you do with your life, and I know you will. So, 40 years ago, I received a letter that changed my life forever. That letter I'm speaking about was a recruitment letter from Warren Fredericks, coaching at a small school in Spokane, Washington called Whitworth. I had just completed my senior year in Downfall High School in Utah. We finished 3rd in state after being ranked 1st for most of the year. I averaged a double-double in points and assists. I was selected first team All-State my junior and senior season. I set the all-time single season assist record for the state of Utah, the history of basketball. However, I wasn't recruited heavily, even with those accomplishments. Actually, I think I only received one other recruitment letter to play at a junior college in a small town in southern Utah. So it was a different time back then. There was no AAU circuit, no recruiting or ranking services, and there wasn't even the internet. So a young kid could research colleges and universities and learn about them. So the only thing I really knew about Whitworth was what Coach Fredericks had told me over the phone. Instead of coming up here out of high school sight unseen, I decided to go to the Air Force Academy and then came back to the University of Utah. I walked on, practiced with their basketball team for about a month before deciding to walk away from the sport and just concentrate on my studies. So that all changed towards the end of that year. I started missing basketball again. So in the summer, I reached out to Coach, called him up, asked him if he was still interested in having me come up to Whitworth. Thankfully he was. So upon arriving at campus, I instantly became part of the amazing community that all of us have experienced here at Whitworth. I was part of something again. I had a second family. I had incredible teammates, a brotherhood that quickly became my best friends. I had a coach who cared deeply about us as players and as people. A school that supported us, win or lose. We didn't have much back then. The coach had just been hired, was trying to build the program the school would be proud of. So our NIL, you know, that name, image, and likeness thing, really wasn't what it was today. In fact, we like to refer to our NIL as standing for nil. But that was a blessing for me, because that was the reason I decided to go out for tennis, to earn a little bit of extra money. And by doing that, I got to play 8 incredible seasons of sports at Whitworth. For 2 of the greatest coaches of all time at Whitworth. 2 Hall of Fame coaches. Warren Friedrichs for basketball and Ross Cutter for tennis, who the tennis courts are named after now. And the impact they both had on my life can never be overstated. To my teammates and coaches, and I had a lot of them, thank you guys for your hard work, your sacrifice, and trusting me. So basketball is not an individual sport. It's always been a team sport. And so I could never have done this without my teammates. So this is more about them, my teammates and coaches, than it ever will be about me. This will always be a team award shared by all of us. Thank you guys for the great memories. All the trips to Hawaii, to freezing Alaska, to Vancouver, and to our first trip to Nationals in 1991. First time in 30 years. Thanks for the memories of playing in the Summer League against John Stockton, other NBA players, and guys that played on their Olympic team for their countries. You know, we were pretty good, and we held our own. Actually, I think Todd Martins almost scored 40 points against John Stockton. We barely lost to him in the finals, and what an amazing experience. Thank you guys for never backing down and having each other's backs when we had disagreements with our opponents. Whether those disagreements were on the court, in the locker room, or just trying to get on the bus to come home. Well, maybe they were a little more than disagreements, if you know what I mean. So, but most of all, thank you for the friendships that last a lifetime, because that's what means the most to me. just the other morning, 6 a.m., I received a text from a former teammate that read, "Hey, just wanted to say hi. If there was ever a Hall of Fame for friendships, you'd be the first inductee. Love you, Stephen Cheney." So it's affirmations like that that show me I absolutely made the right decision to come to Whitworth. So Whitworth might be small in size, but it's unmatched in community, family, and spirit. There's a saying, you're either getting better or you're getting worse, but you're not staying the same. And I think we all can agree that Whitworth is absolutely getting better year after year, which is a direct byproduct of President McQuilkin, the administration, the staff, the faculty, and everyone associated with the school. So I'm amazed to come back, see the progress, both athletically, academically, and so much to do with the school, the facilities, the programs. And I think all of us former athletes, if we could get a do-over, we'd do it again in a heartbeat. So, for my final shot, hopefully a game winner, I just want to thank Coach and my friend, Warren Friedrichs, from the bottom of my heart for sending that young kid in Utah that recruitment letter. For if he hadn't done that, I would have never experienced this magical place called Whitworth. And to Whitworth, thank you for the amazing gift that you gave me. I'm forever grateful. Thank you, guys.
I have to admit, Whitworth is late to the party when it comes to inducting Dave Johnson into a Hall of Fame. This will be 5 or 6, the 5th or 6th Hall of Fame that Dave Johnson will be inducted into this morning. Part of the reason for that is because we knew everything about Dave as a high school coach at Ephrata and all of the accomplishments that he did there. Unfortunately, our record keeping for sports in the late 60s, early 70s wasn't stellar. And so knowing what Dave did during his time here was a challenge. But thanks in part to Luke and some other research that we did, we were able to come up with the fact that Dave played varsity for 3 years. He was a starting catcher for 2 years. And his senior year, he earned honorable mention, all Evergreen Conference, and honorable mention, all district. Now, how did he earn that? We heard the story. Al, was Al here? Al Johnson? No, he's not. Okay. So here's how Dave earned honorable mention, all conference. And it all goes back to, if you're familiar with our field out there, Merkel Field now, it wasn't the same field. It was actually on the other side of the fence. The third base dugout is still there. It's where the football team does most of its practices. There was no outfield fence. And so the right field went all the way to the end of the grass and then down an embankment. So if you hit the ball over the embankment, that was essentially a home run. But there was no fence. And so we're playing Central Washington, and they have a guy who, I can't remember, catcher or first baseman, but about 250 pounds, who crushes the ball over the end of the field, down the embankment. But Al Johnson, who was playing outfield, never gave up on it. Ran down the embankment, got the ball, threw it up, I think it was maybe to Tom Beal, who was the other outfield out there. Tom threw it in, cutoff man. This 250-pound guy who was into his home run trot already realized that the ball was still in play, and he had to keep running. And I don't know if he ran through a stop sign that the coaches was trying to give him, or if the coaches didn't even realize that this ball was going to still be in play, but he's rounding third base and coming home. And here's Dave. Gets the ball in plenty of time, and he's set and ready to make a tag. But the rules were different in those days. You remember the Pete Rose, Ray Fosse collision at home plate. Well, this is where Pete Rose got the idea. Because this guy sees that Dave has the ball, and he's going to come in, and Dave, all 145 pounds of him, is going to block the plate from this 250-pound Central Washington guy, and here comes the collision. Now, Dave had wire-rimmed glasses that he wore while he was catching. The collision was so intense that those wire-rimmed glasses were bent so that the lenses were pointing up instead of out. And the collision was so hard that apparently it knocked Dave's glove off of his hand, but the ball was still in his glove. And so the runner was out. And because of that one play, the Central Washington coaches all voted for Dave for all conference. And that's how we became honorable mention all conference. And so we present for induction this morning on the video, Dave Johnson.
Dave Johnson was destined to become a teacher and a coach, and Whitworth became his springboard to a record-setting career and a place in multiple halls of fame. The son of Jasper Johnson, a Whitworth professor of education, Dave's older brother and sister attended the college, so Dave literally grew up on campus. He watched many football games in the Pine Bowl and basketball games in Graves Gym. Not recruited as an undersized catcher out of Shadle Park High School, Dave was bound to be a Pirate. Dave spent a year on the junior varsity team before lettering 3 years with the varsity. He became the starting catcher his final 2 seasons and was selected as a team captain in 1970, along with fellow Heritage Gallery inductee Tom Beal. Dave was voted by his teammates as the Pirates' most inspirational player for 2 seasons and earned honorable mention All-Evergreen Conference and All-NAIA District 1 as a senior. He was selected to the list of outstanding college athletes of America in 1970 for his athletic ability, leadership, and community service. Just as important, Dave thrived as a history student under the mentorship of men like Fenton Duvall and Homer Cunningham. He graduated summa cum laude and followed his family into the field of education. Looking to eventually make it into the greater Seattle teaching market, Dave took a teaching and coaching job in Ephrata that he thought would last 1 year. It lasted 37 years. Over that time, Dave impacted the lives of hundreds of boys who played baseball for him, and perhaps thousands more who attended his TBI summer baseball camps that ran for 32 years. Doug Moore played for Dave before himself coming to Whitworth. He returned to coach with Dave as well. Doug says Dave was so thorough and had great attention to detail. He kept expectations high for himself as well as his players. Beginning in 1971, Dave's first few years coaching baseball were rough as he built the kind of team he wanted to put on the field every day. Gary Archer coached with Dave for nearly 30 years and remembers one loss to Eastmont. After shaking the opposing coach's hand, Dave turned away and said under his breath, "Next year, we will crush your skull." They did more than that. By 1977, Ephrata went 28-2 and won its first WIAA state championship under Dave. At the same time, Dave was working hard to raise money for a new baseball field at the high school. Dave and longtime friend Marty O'Brien, Ephrata's basketball coach and Dave's top assistant baseball coach, accomplished their goal for a stadium that was eventually named Johnson O'Brien Stadium. Ephrata went on to make 13 more appearances in the state championship game, including 7 more state championships. The Tigers would win 25 league titles, 20 district championships, and 16 regional crowns under Dave. Over his 36 seasons, Dave compiled a coaching record of 687 wins and only 201 losses. That total of 687 wins is the most by any high school coach in Washington State history. Al Johnson, a teammate and roommate of Dave's while he was at Whitworth, says that Dave was made to coach. Al says Dave could see the whole game when he was catching. He knew where every player on the field was supposed to be. He was a true student of the game. Gary Archer added, as a coach, Dave had no ego. He truly let his assistant coaches be part of the program and gave them a say in the day-to-day activities at practice. But Dave was also very organized and meticulous. He kept a note card for every practice we ever ran. Dave has been recognized for the success of his Ephrata teams by induction to several other Halls of Fame: the Ephrata High School Athletics Hall of Fame, Washington Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame, the WIAA Hall of Fame, and the American Baseball Coaches of America Hall of Fame. For all of his accomplishments as a baseball coach and in the classroom, Doug Moore sums up the impact that Dave had this way: Dave is a better man than he is a coach. I couldn't ask for a better person to have played for or coached with. Dave had hundreds of his players go on to collegiate and professional careers in baseball. Only one former player made it to the major leagues, however, and Mike Muchlinski made it as an umpire, not as a player. Even after he retired from teaching and coaching in 2006, Dave continues to take care of the softball field and the baseball field that bears his name as a groundskeeper. Ladies and gentlemen, for the lessons he learned as a Whitworth team captain and an honor student, for the games and championships he won as Ephrata High School's baseball coach, and for the lasting impact he's had on boys who played for him and the men he coached with, the Whitworth Heritage Gallery Selection Committee is proud to present Dave Johnson.
That was a great job. Very well done. I just want to say, I'm just glad to see Ray Washburn here. And I don't know if he's still here, but there he is. Ray, my dad, I'll just get started here, but I really thank you for this. This means a lot to me because I really wasn't that great of an athlete. You don't have to be a catcher. But all you got to do is stop a 5-ounce ball, okay? That sometimes goes 100, 40, 30, or whatever. And so anyway, I'd like to thank the Whitworth Heritage Gallery of Fame. And Ray Washburn, I knew him more after his time right here. I think my dad got to know him at times. And so anyway, when I went to my first ABCA conference that Paul Merkel took me to, Ray, who knew San Francisco pretty well because playing for St. Louis, he took us to a nice place. He probably doesn't remember this, probably doesn't remember me, but he took me and a bunch of other young coaches out for dinner, okay, at a place that he knew. I played with Dick Washburn one summer, and I played with Jerry Washburn, his youngest brother, okay, and he stayed 1 year at Whitworth, and then he went back home to do other things. But anyway, we played Burbank High School, where Ray went to school, and Dick and Jerry was the coach. And so we had some big battles between each other, and very good teams. I'll just tell you that today's major league major league pitchers, okay, are the most spoiled that you can get, because they can't go more than 5 innings. Okay, it's unbelievable, because you look at Gibson's, okay, and Washburn's records, how many total games that they oftentimes would play. Okay, 9 innings, always. Okay, today they really think it's good that you get 6. Okay, so anyway, that's my opinion. Let me introduce my family and friends. You gotta understand, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not really nervous. They did such a good job on it. I was crying, okay? because I didn't even realize I did a lot of those things. And I probably did. I have good roommates. So anyway, I just want to say that the three most nervous people in this place today are my three children, because they've been at several Hall of Fame presentations, okay, and they know that when I get going that I might say the wrong thing, all right? So, especially for one, because one of my daughters, okay, doesn't teach, but she works here in the ed department, and so she really likes her job. She doesn't want to lose it. So anyway, just out family and friends. My brother, who I thought most of, he was 8 years older than me. His name is Ivan Johnson. He's Dr. Ivan Johnson. Okay, he graduated from Whitworth in 1962, 58 to 62. Janice, his wife, graduated from Whitworth, okay, in 1962. They are listening, and so I got to be very careful. They're listening right now, or will be listening, because this is being videoed. He lives in Minnesota. And so, my sister, Diane Brower, just back to my brother. My brother got his PhD, okay, from University of Montana. If you ever want to just read something that'll put you to sleep, you just got to do his dissertation. It's on the urinary function, okay, the red-tailed hawk. So anyway, he's the expert in the whole world. Because when you got a PhD, you have to do something nobody else ever had to do. Okay, so you talk about, he would collect, he had 12 birds. I used to call him the Birdman. Okay, and he had 12 birds in Missoula. And he went on, got his PhD, went on to Yale to do postgraduate work. He then taught for 40 years at Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota. And Division III, oftentimes Whitworth plays that conference back there. And so anyway, he could not be here. He's 85 years old. And he is the most inspirational person in my life growing up. In fact, Janice, I did not like Janice because she took too much of my brother's time. I was 8, he was 16, 17 years old. And so anyway, he put 600 people in the medical field as doctors, dentists, chiropractors, so forth. In fact, 5 of his doctors, okay, both live in the Moorhead area, and he taught them all. Whenever we have a medical problem, we just call my brother, and then he tells me what the deal is. And a terrific guy. My sister is here. My sister goes to all the Hall of Fame dinners, okay, or breakfasts, because it's a free meal. So anyway, she's right over there. She's in a red dress. Her name is Mrs. Diane Brower, okay. So anyway, she went to school here for 1 year, and my brother went 4, I went 4, she went 1 year. Okay, she was a freshman. She met a sophomore boy, okay, from Stockton, California, called Bob. His name is Bob Brower. And so anyway, he fell in love with Diane. Diane went to the University of Washington, not because of the relationship, okay, but because she wanted to get her Bachelor of Science in nursing. So she went 1 year here and then went to the University of Washington. She was a nurse, but most of all, she was a pastor's wife, okay, for 40-some years. Okay, she is she's lost her husband to Alzheimer's and then to stroke a few years back. She just turned 80 years old, and she works out every morning at LA Fitness. She's from Scottsdale, Arizona. That doesn't mean she's rich. Okay, she's in the poor part of Scottsdale. Anyway, all 3 of us had full rides, okay, to Whitworth. All right. In fact, my brother got a ride every morning to Whitworth. That's how special he was. Okay? Because Dr. Jasper Johnson, okay, was a teacher here at Whitworth. He is also the Dean of Men at one time. And several of you athletes in here, okay, thank goodness, all right, you're still alive. Because Westminster Hall had a reputation. And I just want to tell you, my dad sometimes was called, we lived, we were in the Shadle Park district, about 15 minutes from here. He had to go out there at 1 o'clock, 2 in the morning, okay, and stop the Westminster guys because they kidnapped 3 guys from Eastern because we were going to play them the next day. They shaved their heads, okay, and put iodine W on top of their head. All right, that's what then he went out to get in his car, all right, 1959 red Chevy, okay, that he drove until he died. And so what happened is that he would get his car and they put his back wheels up on blocks so he couldn't go anywhere. So Dad was very familiar with Westminster. How many Westminster people do we have here? Yeah, there he is. Coach Bennett. Okay, there's a couple others, okay, that are here. So anyway, my dad was also a teacher, okay, and here in at Woolworth. My mother was a private kindergarten teacher. It's good to have a father that has his EED in education, doctorate in education, okay, and my mother was a private kindergarten teacher because in the 1900s, she had 1 year of education and she could teach in a one-room schoolhouse in South Dakota. So for a long time, Spokane did not have kindergarten, so I never went to kindergarten. My mom became a kindergarten teacher after I was older. My dad started Project Able. How many people in here were in Project Able? Nobody? Okay. Project Able were for kids that weren't very smart. Okay, thank goodness you didn't raise your hand. Okay, so what happened is that he would bring these young men in, and many of them, thank goodness for Sam Adams and so forth, many of them started out, okay, in Project Able. And my dad would never give hard teachers to start with. He'd give teachers that were more lenient and so forth and not as deep, okay, as a lot of the teachers were in Spokane. And so what happened is that a lot of athletes came through there, and I know a lot of them because a lot of them became baseball coaches I coached against and so forth. But anyway, he did a lot. He loved to take young guys, okay, George Elliott was one of them, okay, because a lot of those guys, one thing about Whitworth professors, a lot of the kids didn't have any place to go during Thanksgiving. And a lot of them went to a professor's house, okay, for Thanksgiving dinner. And George Elliott, who I really liked because I knew every football guy, because I went to like every game, because when I got here, I was 5 years old, okay, and I graduated when I was 21 years old. And so I knew, okay, Coach John Muriel, I knew all those guys on the football team, and Denny Spurlock and all those folks. So anyway, it was really a fun time to grow up. So another thing is that Vicki is my wife. We've been married for 50 years, August 16th, and she was a very good coach's wife because she didn't know anything about any sport. Okay, so that's a good thing to have. But anyway, she, in 2008, she fell on some ice, okay, in Ephrata, which we hardly ever get. But anyway, what happened, she was taken to the hospital. They found a growth on her brain. She was immediately flown to Spokane, and they operated on the next day. And I don't know if you ever saw Bucket List, but one of the guys in Bucket List, not Freeman, but the other guy, okay, if you saw that movie, he had brain cancer. And my wife had the same cut on there as that the actor had. So anyway, she survived that, and she's with me today. That was in 2008. She didn't graduate from Whitworth. She went to Prairie Bible Institute, which is about as far away as you can possibly get from anywhere. And so she is a expert on the Bible. Spent 4 years of Bible school. Went to Eastern, could afford Whitworth. Okay, and became a teacher. And for a while, then she raised 3 kids. She was an excellent coach's wife. We have 3 children. Kimberly Ann Levine is the oldest. She works here at Whitworth. She's the one that likes Whitworth and wants the job come Monday. So her husband is Chad, and Chad knew I was talking, so he and his son, okay, and Kimberly's son, okay, they decided to go to the University of Oregon football game, all right, and they are AWOL. Therefore, they're written out of the will. So anyway, thank goodness the money's going to Kim, and she knows what to do with it. Brian, our son, is 44. Oh, by the way, there's 2 grandchildren here. Haley's a junior at me. She loves to run cross country, and I love to watch her run cross country. One thing about cross country is whenever time I thought about running, get in shape again, I just laid down until the thought went away. So Avery is an 8th grader. And so Jack is a freshman at Whitworth College. And so 3 generations gone through, but my dad went 30-some years as being a teacher here. Brian is our son. He was recruited by Whitworth Baseball, but also recruited by the University of Washington. He played 3 years for the Huskies. He wanted to be in Division I. He was drafted, played 2 years of minor league baseball, and then decided to go back and get his education. He could not get a teacher's education at the University of Washington, so he went to Eastern because he had 2 years of scholarship from the Diamondbacks. His wife is Katie, and I hate to tell you, she is a Linfield graduate. Okay. Linfield football is very good, but they're lousy in everything else. And all I know is we win the Whitworth all sports thing over and over and over again. So she doesn't even let her son, okay, play football. And she has it on her phone. Linfield 41 wins, okay, Whitworth 7. Look that up. I bet that's a lie. So anyway, she's right down here, and thank goodness they no longer shave heads and put a W on your head. So you're lucky. Our youngest is Rachel. Brian, by the way, was a high school baseball coach. He won 2 state championships, okay, in Oregon, and what we know of today here in the state of Washington in the B League. He's a very good coach. He was also into administration. He's one of the vice principals at Ephrata. He's the AD at Ephrata. I take care of the fields, and now my son tells me what to do. So anyway, they have children. Mitch, who's a sophomore, all right, and Shannon's here, that's an 8th grader. Our youngest is Rachel. She lives in Spokane with her husband, Kevin. Kevin's from WSU. Brian's a Husky. And Chad thinks he's an Oregon Duck, even though he graduated here from Whitworth. But anyway, can you imagine when we get together, okay, the competition between WSU, all right, and UW and Oregon. One of the things that I told some guys, some of my friends who are WSU guys, I said, you know, I thought back when Spurlock was here, and Muriel was here, and and Baker and all those guys that Coach Adams brought in. I thought for sure that we could beat WSU at the time. Now I know Whitworth could beat WSU today. I'm sorry if you're a Cougar, but that's the honest truth. So anyway, our youngest is Rachel. Her husband is Kevin. They have a 4-year-old named Maisie. Kevin is Irish, and their daughter was born on St. Patrick's Day. She's 4 years old. She's in the St. Patrick's Day parade because I don't know if you go to that awesome parade. There's about 5 things down there in Spokane. Rachel went to Whitworth and graduated in 2008. She was a senior class coordinator. My friends, former players and coaches, Gary and Sandy Archer, are right over here. He coached with me for 30 years, as the video showed today. He went to Spokane Falls. He used to come out here and practice when Spokane Falls didn't have a field house. Graduated from Eastern Oregon, played baseball, became a teacher at the middle school. Sandy is a retired nurse. They've been married for 50-some years, 56 years. Gary's daughter went to Whitworth. Her name was Becca. She played softball for a while. Doug and Ann Moore are here. Doug played football, basketball, and baseball at Ephrata. Coach Vaughn recruited him, went to Whitworth for 4 years, graduated in art education. Doug is like a son to me. He's here today. He coached baseball with us and basketball. Jason Laugan's here. He did not go to Whitworth, but his son is now enrolled at Whitworth. Played baseball for us, later graduated from Central Washington University. He teaches history, assistant baseball coach, and after I hung it up in 2006, he coached Ephrata for 12 years. His son Ty is an infield pitcher type at Whitworth. Marty O'Brien is not here. He died in 2007. He came the same time I came. We never knew each other. Okay, I had two of the best assistant coaches, okay, that guy could have, and I never chose them. The school district chose him. One was Marty O'Brien. He got the job a month after I got the head job. I didn't even know if I wanted the head job. Thank goodness I had a guy like Marty who was gun-ho for baseball, basketball. Gary Archer, I had those guys for 30 years. Okay, they were loyal. In today's world, there's not a lot of loyalty sometimes in athletics, because of all the stuff they're doing in Division I, okay, all that, and then also, but these guys were as loyal as you possibly could be. And they told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear oftentimes. And so anyway, that's the reason why we were so successful. Plus we had kids that would run through anything, okay, to compete. And during the 1980s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, Ephrata, I think, won 23 state championships. We only had one when we first started, 23 overall through all the fields. So anyway, Marty, we held 3 senior Babe Ruth World Series on our field. Our field at one time, I submitted it to Field of the Year for high school, okay, at the ABCA, American Baseball Coaches Association. And we won it because I wanted to get some turfus, which was a free ton of turfus, and a spreader that spreads the turfus on the grounds. We got enough money from them when I won that award that we could purchase those things. We built 3 things we did. We built one of the best baseball programs in the state of Washington, or not, in a lot of people. We played in 14 state championships. Okay, we won 8 of them. We should have won a few more, but they're close games. Okay, we started a baseball camp. Someone told us in Ephrata, it's a small town with 3 street lights, that he said, who's going to come to a baseball camp in Ephrata? Well, I just might tell you, 32 years later, we had the largest baseball camp in the Pacific Northwest. How do we get that? We wanted to send a kid to a baseball camp up in Canada. The guy, Marty, was on the phone with him. He said, I'd like to send this kid up there. And if he told him what the price was, and Marty said, man, that's pretty expensive. And the guy said, if you didn't like it, why don't you make your own camp? And Marty said, that's a good idea. So we made our own camp, all right, and we drove them out of business. So anyway, that's why Coach Archer said that certain things about me, that's not good. One thing, we're competitive, okay? What I like about Steve, he reminds me of Stockton. He reminds me of a guy that will get, no one, I bet, wanted you to guard him, because you look like a guy that could, I won't go any further. So anyway, Marty's in the Washington State Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame. Very few baseball assistants get that. We were actually co-coaches. We started TBI. We built a baseball field from nothing, just like Coach Klein, okay, down in Westmont. By the way, my sister's 3 kids all went to Westmont. Dr. Winters was the president of Westmont, and Dr. Winters used to be the dean of the school here at Ephrata. Morley was down there. Okay, I forget his first name, basketball player and so forth. Okay, basically Westmont is a little Whitworth, and really little, way down there. So anyway, they have three of her kids graduate. Gary Costa is a good friend of ours. Okay, he's 81 years old. He was a camp director for 20-some years. Coached at Curlew, Washington. Okay, several appearances in state baseball playoffs with Washington State Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame. He and his wife Sally now reside in Ephrata. They've been married for 50, 60 years. By the way, the three coaches I had, okay, we all the way through, we had the same wife. Not the same wife, we didn't share wives. So anyway, Hayden, by the way, the reason why I mentioned Gary, Hayden is a sophomore at Whitworth. He's on the cross-country team. We coached together 7th and 8th grade baseball. Can you imagine? We didn't have middle school baseball for a long time. We brought it back, and they did not put baseball down as one of the teams. Baseball, I don't know if you know this or not, was invented in the United States. And we didn't have a 7th and 8th grade. So we asked a gal who's a gun-ho money raiser in Ephrata, I said, will you go out because your kid wants to play baseball, 7th and 8th grade baseball? And so they went to the school board and said, well, you have to have $35,000, okay, to get the whole thing started. They didn't want it baseball. So what happened is that she went out, she raised $45,000 in about a week. We got a 7th and 8th grade baseball team because my grandson was an 8th grader. I wanted to coach him. He's a catcher. Okay, Gary's grandson was a 7th grader. He wanted to coach him. All right, they coached him, and I just want to tell you that Gary Costa is 81, and I'm 7 when we started, and I was 76. We have 157 years of coaching experience. Okay, I think we knew too much, but we won and we got things going in 7th and 8th grade. What does Whitworth mean to me? From the time I was 5 until I was 21, I spent lots of time on Whitworth's campus, since Dad was a prof and also Dean of Men. Going to athletic events and other events, I knew of many of the pirate athletes. From 1966 to 1970, I was a student at Whitworth and a baseball player. I was 145 pounds, and I loved catching, and I could throw the ball. I wasn't really great, but nothing got by me. All right, most of the time. Sometimes there were some things that some balls got by me. Used to play Gonzaga, and Gonzaga used to set a beer keg, okay, up in the stands, and I was a catcher, and I was the closest to the beer keg. And so when the ball went back to the backstop, I had to go back and get it, and they were right on the fence saying all these nice things to me, okay? And all I know is that it was kind of tough, but I really loved to catch. And you know what? The only guy that plays in foul territory, okay, in any sport is a catcher. All right, you understand that? He does not play in fair territory. And he plays behind the base. And so anyway, so you get to see all 8 people. You get to work with pitchers. I worked with pitchers and catchers all my life. I never knew how to do a double play because Marty O'Brien was one of the best infield coaches, okay, in the state of Washington. He did all that. But relationships are so important. I was in Stewart Hall. Then when the girls left, the one year when we became juniors and seniors, they built the Baldwin and Jenkins. And the girls left McMillan Hall. They went out screaming and kicking because McMillan Hall was really a neat classical type of hall. So they had to go to Baldwin and Jenkins. The junior and senior year, I had 3 great roommates, Tom Beal, Sam Williams, Al Johnson. We all played baseball. Tom played football and baseball. In 1999, he was selected to this Hall of Fame. Terrific athlete, best hitter I've ever seen, okay, at the high school and the college level. He was recruited by Bobo Brayton. He got a scholarship to go down there. His girlfriend was going down there, and Bobo Brayton said, I might pull your scholarship because your girlfriend's coming down. So Tom turned around and he enrolled in Whitworth for 5 years. Am I too long? Okay.
We're going to kick us out of the room. So, yes. So,
You had some influence.
well, we had to influence to 11. So 11:05.
All right, thank you. Okay, spiritually, relationships, academics was great. Duvall, Cunningham, Man, I still use their stuff when I was teaching for 36 years. They were tremendous teachers at Freda. I'm not afraid. Freda had tremendous. That's where I'm from. So anyway.
All right, what a wonderful day. Well, what a way to start the day. Thank you so much for being here. Couple housekeeping things to get us going or to get us out the door here. Reminder, if you don't have tickets to the game yet, you can pick them up at the back from Jarvis here with a hand in the air for the football game. You'll need a ticket to get in, so pick one up if you don't have that. Pirate Night, our dinner and auction, our biggest fundraiser of the year, is happening on Thursday, November 6th at the Spokane Convention Center. Would love to see you there. You can purchase tickets online at whitworthpirates.com. Just a great evening of seeing our student athletes, our coaches in action, and learning all about the special things that are happening in Pirate Athletics. Also on your table, there's a little business card, Dave Liegemeyer's business card. Dave oversees our Sports Legacy Endowment. Dave would love to talk about what you're going to do with your money when you're gone and how you can bless our student athletes and coaches. Endowments are the gift that keep on giving. Dave also talks about it as your never money, the money you'll never spend. And so what a way to bless others. So we'd love for you to connect with Dave. His information is on that card. All of you current Hall of Famers and our new Hall of Famers, we will be doing a presentation at halftime of the football game. So we will be meeting on the track. So if you could be down by, there's a tent on the north end of the grandstands on the track. If you can meet there, we will walk out together and we will present our new inductees to the fans at that game. And so if you could be there for that, that would be wonderful. A couple thank yous. Also want to thank Steve Flagel. Steve's the brains and the talent behind this. So thank you, Steve, for all the work. And just what a wonderful morning this is. And so appreciate everything Steve does. I want to thank you all for being here. This is what makes it special, the people. And we've heard our inductees talk about their experiences. Whitworth is a great place, but it's a great place because of the people that are Whitworth. And so thank you for being here. And then to our inductees, I want to say first off, congratulations. Well deserved. And I want to say thank you because when I talk with our graduating students, I often talk about who they were when they came as 18-year-olds and who they are now when they're graduating and the transformation that is happening in their lives. But I also tell them they're not finished. They're just getting started. And now when I look at our Hall of Famers and our most recent inductees, this is who they are on track to become. The legacy that you guys have established and the opportunity to come and speak to the teams and to impart the wisdom and the experiences that you had, that is a remarkable thing. And so I loved it when our basketball players came in. Because I often think, oh, if they could only hear this, right? The wisdom passed on to the younger. And so thank you so much for the legacy that you guys have set as what it means to be a Whitworthy. And so we are so grateful. Today is a great day. We get to celebrate everything that's great about Whitworth. And so I am so thankful you are here. We are so blessed. Go Bucks.